Hello, today is Wednesday, January 20th, 2021. Doing business and robot today.
You're still sounding a little robot, Krista.
Am I? It's not. I don't know. My Discord says it's okay.
It's the algorithm.
Oh no, actually my Discord, the little bar is orange.
Oh, what does that mean?
Now it's green.
What's happening? Who is torrenting at your house, Krista? Seeding so many uploads. Well, the big news this week, I guess, in the hardware world or in the business world was hardware.
CES.
Because we had a lot of announcements, and in no particular order, we will start with Nvidia. If you are a laptop gamer, I got some good news for you.
Nvidia reveals mobile RTX 3060, 3070, and 3080 GPUs, bless you, for gaming.
Sorry.
You can pre-order these right now. I went on bestbuy.com and they're like, we will take your money right now. Never you mind about the chip shortage, never you mind about the production difficulties. You're going to be able to buy these. Just give us your money right now. So if you have a fear of missing out, just go ahead and buy those laptops. They'll probably show up about the end of March.
And unsurprising, given their recent past and basically doing this every time they're able to shut down their competition, AMD showed off a little bit of everything.
AMD shows off impressive Ryzen 5000 mobile processors and 3rd Gen Epyc servers. So this is a press event. I watched it. It was really weird. It was super weird. The fact of the matter is, it's really hard right now to buy Ryzen 5000 desktop and AMD GPUs. So this presentation had a little bit of an air to it of like the dog that actually caught the car. Like, you know how the dogs chase after the car? It's like, what would you do if you caught the car? Well, AMD's caught the car. They do have the best stuff now, but I mean, it's just, I don't know. This press event was different than their other press events somehow. I don't know. It's hard to articulate.
Over at Qualcomm, they've been seeing a lot of headlines lately about everybody rushing to do their own chips. And I think that might have motivated them a little bit in this decision.
Qualcomm to acquire NUVIA, a CPU magnitude shift. So Qualcomm, you might remember, they worked with Microsoft. Remember the ARM Windows laptop that came out first? And then Apple came out with their ARM laptop, and it blew the doors off of everything. It blew everybody's mind. Would you say that the Surface X was a bit of a snoozer?
Almost everything Microsoft has tried.
Surface RT was, I'll say that Surface RT was a turd. It was an outright turd. And NUVIA has got smart people at the helm. They're thinking about things the right way. And I think it's probably a good sign because Qualcomm can adopt some of NUVIA's brilliance, even though they don't have a product yet. So they're taking a little bit of a risk. They must have seen something. So perhaps with NUVIA, Qualcomm will be able to produce that Windows laptop that blows the doors off of Intel. Maybe. In about 3 years.
They do point out that NUVIA has kind of a rock star team in terms of chip development. So it may be that they already have something that they can show Qualcomm. That was like, what, 1.4 billion?
Yeah.
That makes them worth it. They've only been around since 2019. What a great turnaround for a company.
I'm sure that it's like 1.9 billion, but nobody's allowed to quit. And if anybody quits, you don't get the 1.9 billion. And also, if you don't pull off miracles here, you don't get the 1.9 billion.
Still, I would take that challenge.
Yeah.
And last, I would say but not least, but
kind of is.
Intel, I think Intel, they just went full court press. They're like, just throw it out. Here's everything we got. Please love us again, please. And I think if you just looked at this and you didn't have any context, you might think, oh, that was a pretty good press release. But then you think about the fact that AMD have already kind of beaten this. So
Intel takes the fight to AMD with a bevy of new mobile and desktop CPUs unveiled at CES 2021. Rocket Lake, it's finally here. Now, Intel has backported a 10 nanometer CPU, a CPU designed for 10 nanometer to 14 nanometer. Its release is imminent, as in a couple of months. And it's going to be 5 gigahertz, and they've got single core. They got 11th gen with XE graphics. It's really weird and super time consuming to backport like this. I don't know. There's a lot of stuff that came out of Intel's press event, and the more that I see out of them, the more it seems like they're talking like BlackBerry. You remember BlackBerry? And they're like, we're not really worried about iPhone. Why would we be worried? There's no keyboard. Why? How could something with no keyboard possibly take over the entire universe? It's kind of what Intel feels like, and I think they know it too because they're making some radical changes.
We talk a lot about the difference between a press release and a investor release because one of them is almost always total lies and the other one is grudging truth because of the SEC. And I think this is a situation here where you can read more in this headline than you can the previous one, the entire presentation of the CES thing.
Yeah. Intel CEO Bob Swan to step down. VMware CEO Pat Gelsinger to replace him. Now, that is an Intel alumni. You know, he started at Intel when he was 18. He's brilliant. He's done an incredible amount of work. I'm really hopeful about Intel's future. It's a return to engineering. VMware has a lot of experience with a lot of customers for computing. And so he may be able to turn it around. I bet if he like does the Steve Jobs thing and like gets his hands in every different department, we see a lot of sweeping changes over the next few months. He doesn't take the helm until February. But yeah, it's looking like Intel might be able to not BlackBerry themselves. It'll be awesome.
Of course, that is all about x86. But could the 20s turn out to be the decade where we leave it behind?
The roaring 20s.
Some companies think so, and they have some interesting new products based on that.
Move over ARM. The BeagleV, I guess?
Yeah, it's BeagleV.
BeagleV.
Every company involved with RISC-V has 5 in the title. Have you noticed that?
As a V, yeah. Well, I mean, they're just trying to ride the coattails there. It's $150. It's RISC-V. You can get 4 or 8 gigabytes of memory. It's got USB 3. It really does look like it ticks all of the boxes. Debian, high performance. I mean, this thing looks like it would be a ton of fun to play with. I'm on the short list to get, one. I signed up on the website, so we'll see what happens.
$140. Not bad, and you can do some pretty advanced AI type stuff with that hardware.
I'm just going to run Minecraft on it. And, like, if it runs Minecraft faster than the new Raspberry Pi 4, I'll consider it a win.
Does Java roll well?
Yeah, it actually runs surprisingly well
Really?
on the new Raspberry Pi. It's not great, but it's not
No,
terrible.
I mean on RISC.
Oh yeah, it should. It should run really well on RISC-V.
Of course, at CES, you don't just have the PC stuff. Got to talk about the phones, right? Samsung kind of took a step back for 2020 because uncertain market, and it seems like they are still not completely confident to go back to those big numbers.
The Galaxy S21 and S21 Plus are Samsung's new, more affordable flagships. $200 off. $200 off. But they do feature the new Qualcomm Snapdragon 888, which is a 5-nanometer processor.
And insanely fast. And remember, Qualcomm was like, we don't know if anybody's going to use these, so they're breathing a sigh of relief, I guess.
Well, people are using them, but they're not, the $2,000 flagship phone that the market wanted to head toward.
$200 off does still land the more expensive model at $1,000.
Yeah. I think that, it looks like prices are also like going up, but it's really that the money printer is going brrr this whole time because, I think that's a factor here.
It's not going to stop. We got $2 trillion rolling in. Got to go somewhere, right?
I mean, if you look at the prices of like cars and houses and stuff, it's out of control. But if you look at food hasn't caught up yet, but it will.
Have you seen those great screenshots? And they might have been, taken at a different time, but it looks like it was done correctly. As soon as the $600 stimulus was announced, somebody got a picture of a Walmart, and they had like the impulse buy aisle was nothing but TVs, $599.99.
Yeah, I saw that. They know.
I feel like, I used to be really incensed by that because it was like, Walmart, they're just, they know that people can't control themselves. But I know that Jeff Bezos has done something far more insidious than that. And so it's like, okay, Walmart, you can have your transparent grifting.
It's okay to be evil as long as you're not as evil as the next guy.
Yeah, I was going to say, that's pretty much what you just said.
Yeah, well, people will throw away their money, and they will throw away their money on stupid stuff. Stupid stuff like...
LG teases its rollable phone. This is the thing I was talking about last week. I didn't know it was a real thing. It turns out it's a real thing. Yeah, it rolls.
Those motors are not going to last.
No.
I'm so sorry for you if you buy this. It does look cool, I guess.
I think what I was talking about last week was like the technology, like the rollable technology, seems like it is going to be more durable in this format than something that folds over half. Like folding it and creasing it in the one spot over and over again versus something that unrolls. It seems like the thing that unrolls would be more durable. But something with motors and all that kind of stuff, that doesn't seem like. I was just imagining something that you just pull and push, and it's just
But that you're going to pull it too hard.
And then break it or something?
Yeah, there's going to be a huge problem with people sending those back.
Or the mechanism gets caught or whatever. Yeah, I don't know.
So that's a thing. I do understand that a bigger screen on demand sounds cool, but I just can't imagine it works well.
No.
We'll find out. I guess it's coming. I don't think they've announced that as like an actual product yet, but they've got prototypes and they're thinking about it. So we talked last week about the new Wi-Fi 6E. Now, this is not Wi-Fi 6E, but if you bought your router a while back, you probably don't even have Wi-Fi 6. And if you bought a laptop a while back, you definitely don't have it. So do you buy a new laptop? Well, D-Link says we've got a better solution.
D-Link has made a USB adapter that adds Wi-Fi 6 to your laptop. Puts a new mesh on your, Wi-Fi 6 router. It's like, I've got some bad news, D-Link. No one's going to buy this. It's about $100.
It's pretty big. It's $100, and you got to stick it outside of your laptop all the time.
So, I got that Lenovo Yoga laptop a while back. I ended up returning it because it wasn't for me. But the Wi-Fi adapter that it shipped with was pure garbage, just pure unadulterated garbage. It's pretty easy to swap your Wi-Fi, your M.2. So check out that how-to video. Maybe I'll update it because putting in a Wi-Fi 6 adapter inside your laptop, usually not too much of a headache unless it's an Apple laptop.
And finally, we talked last week about the expected video card price increase. And actually, this is from January 7th, so they knew about this. But if you wanted to know why those huge price increases, well, of course, there's a shortage. And, of course, the retailers are gouging you. And, of course, the pandemic and the supply chain and all that.
And miners.
But add one more to the list.
Trump tax means you'll pay even more for Nvidia and AMD's impossible-to-find graphics cards. It's a 25% tariff for GPUs coming from China. All the major vendors have already announced, the pricing is going to increase. So AMD, MSI, everybody, the price is going up. EVGA is doing something different. If you're already signed up for if you were already signed up on the wait list, I think they're going to eat the cost difference. So that's pretty impressive. Good job, EVGA, if that's true. But there's no sign that this will be repealed or done away with. Although, maybe that'll be fixed a day or two.
A lot of people think that Biden is going to
fix that,
go real easy on China. Yeah,
it's possible that he could fix that today.
Oh yeah, because we're filming this on the 15th, so he may be in office by the time.
Krista, you're roboting real bad.
Yeah, it's terrible. There's something going on in your network, Krista. So you know what? If this trend keeps continuing, I think what we need to do is get some GPU production in this country. Let's make American GPUs again.
They have to pay us non-slave wages, so they won't do that.
We can all be Magoos.
And CES week, you got to roll out your new product. You got to craft the perfect tweet. Got to, you attract people to it, but don't insult anybody. Make sure you describe the product, get your hashtag in there. But there's one other factor that people constantly forget.
Samsung inadvertently uses iPhone to tweet Galaxy Unpacked promo. Oh, no. Yeah, all the marketing people love to use Apple products because they literally don't understand how it's killing their soul.
They don't have any souls. What are you talking about?
They gave those up a long time ago.
Now, they point out that there's a rich history of influencers and marketing people tweeting from their iPhone about a product that competes with the iPhone, although this was a corporate account, a first. This is somebody who's going to get a long talking to.
It used to be that the Twitter API let you put pretty much anything you wanted there. I really want to do, when it supported third-party apps, I really want to do it's like tweeted from RISC-V or tweeted from AS6000 or something like that.
And some of the companies that you would think would have really killed it during the pandemic, actually, now that we're entering into 2021, are kind of like, okay, we had these protection policies in place for our employees, but boy, are we eating a lot of cost here. So while everybody else is talking about something else in the news, let's just announce this.
Dropbox to cut 11% of its global workforce. Dropbox is cutting its global workforce by about 11%, the company said in an 8K filing released Wednesday. I'm honestly, like, I don't think this is really global situation related. Like, at this point, what Dropbox provides is a commodity. They haven't really done anything. I mean, they had the first mover advantage, but they haven't really done anything to differentiate themselves in the market. And now the stuff that's built into the operating system is about as good or better than what they offer.
They absolutely mentioned that they guaranteed everybody's paycheck through 2020.
Yeah,
No,
I mean, like, they need to innovate and stuff if they want to grow. It's not like, I mean, they guaranteed the thing, but that wouldn't have been a problem if their business had been good. And it should have been good working from home if they had a product that would differentiate them from other stuff in the market, but they don't.
350 people to run Dropbox is ridiculous anyway.
Yeah.
I mean, you can run Dropbox with 20 people easily. And one of those people is the janitor. This is unsurprising, and this is an accusation that we've seen over and over from governments and businesses alike, but we have a new one entering into the fray, and it's because of the events at the Capitol, because these services are all of a sudden getting news time, and hey, take advantage of it, right?
Google sued by YouTube rival over search rankings. Video sharing site Rumble, citing a Wall Street Journal investigation, alleges that Google diverted traffic away from it toward YouTube. So, yeah, I mean, you know, it's like, okay, you're going to ban us from your platform. We'll go to another platform, Rumble. And then it's like, oh, look, those are ranking really highly. And then it's like, oh, no, let's adjust the algorithm. It'll be interesting to see what happens in discovery. Did Google adjust the algorithm? Or was that just the natural consequence of, you know, people becoming more disinterested in it?
Pales in comparison to the whole just drag them off the App Store thing. Like, that's more of a smoking gun.
Yeah.
And Tesla, 2020 was almost nothing but good news for Tesla, right? Can you remember any? I mean, he had his little controversies.
I mean, some of the cars crashed, but like, that was a blip on the radar compared to all the good news.
Yeah, people were not upset about that at all. They were just like, "Oh, this happens to all cars."
The one thing that didn't happen to all cars is the guy that hit the telephone pole at 80 miles an hour, which I guess is kind of rare.
Probably not.
The batteries separated, and it wouldn't stop setting other people's houses on fire. Like, every little chunk of battery that went somewhere else, you couldn't put it out, so it would light everything on fire around it.
Yeah, and do you remember how that affected the stock price?
Positively?
Not at all. Yeah. So Tesla, you know, really solid year for them, considering how bad it was for everybody else. And of course, Musk became the world's richest man. I guess he still is, right?
I think, yeah, he's in a little bit of a grudge match with Bezos, but yeah.
And so starting 2021, I think this is a tough one for them, because this is going to cost them a lot of money.
Yeah. US asks Tesla to recall 158,000 vehicles for touchscreen failures. It's not really just the touchscreen failures, though. Touchscreen failures are a part of it. It's that NAND flash wear out thing. Remember the last time we talked about it, and I was like, I would be surprised if they get away with this. So Tesla was logging everything, but it wears out the flash memory in the device. So they made it log less stuff. It'll still wear out, but it will wear out after the warranty expires, when it's not Tesla's problem anymore. The U.S. National Highway Safety Warranty, FTC, whatever, that group was like, not so fast. If you design something to fail immediately after the warranty has expired, that's also against U.S. trade law. So you're going to have to fix this. The touchscreens also fail in other interesting ways, like the sealant that they use will just run out of it like a liquid if the car gets warm.
Which, you know, anytime during the summer, it's a greenhouse effect, so that's a common use case.
Christy, you just leave it in dog mode?
All the time.
Stays at 70 degrees?
You don't have a temperature-controlled garage? What's wrong with you?
It would also yellow really badly, but again. Tesla was not using industrial LCDs is why that happened. They just sort of ghettoed. Remember the one where it's like they were using Lowe's wooden trim? They kind of did that with their LCDs as well.
So the highway safety, I can't remember the acronym every time, NT something. They, I guess I can click back over there and look at it.
You could Google it.
National Highway Traffic Safety Administration, NHTSA. So they pointed out that up until now, Tesla has required you to pay for this fix.
Yeah.
It's not a warranty fix, which is pretty bad. But what's worse is that while your car will function without this, you will lose things like turn signal indicators and controlling the interior, like temperature controls and stuff like that. You won't get any beeping or feedback if something goes wrong.
Oops.
Kind of important.
They're like, Tesla, this is a self-inflicted problem. This is not the fault of the owner. This is not really the natural, wear out that you would have on a vehicle like this. You're going to have to fix it. And it's good news because, while they make you replace the whole thing, really the thing that needs to be replaced is just a flash chip. So they should have had a refurbishing program, a proper refurbishing program, because the actual cost to fix this really isn't much.
I suspect next week or soon after we will there'll be a headline where it's like 6-month wait to get your Tesla fixed under the warranty program.
All your warranties expired. I'm sorry. You didn't register for warranty service in time.
AT&T, we have long followed AT&T's rapid spiral into the death throes of a company. They're a terrible company. And maybe they got a little bit of goodwill from being bombed a few weeks ago. Remember that? That's completely... We got bombed and nobody remembers it. That's what the news is doing now.
It's because it was a crazy white guy.
So they bought DirecTV, which seemed like a bad idea. And then they just baffled their users with a million different contracts with DirecTV. One of them was over the internet. One of them was through the satellite. They had different names. They kept changing the names. They kept raising the prices. And
why don't people want to buy our service?
Unsurprisingly,
AT&T kills off the failed TV service formerly known as DirecTV Now. AT&T TV now folded into AT&T TV, which
just think about what you just said.
That's insane.
It sounds like you're having a stroke when you read the sub-headline.
And there's also a no contract option. The no contract option actually costs less than the with contract option, but the no contract option doesn't make any guarantees about the pricing. And the contract option doesn't make any guarantees about what you're going to get. So
in other words, there's still no reason to do business with AT&T unless
literally
you absolutely
none.
Have to.
Yeah. Why is AT&T so awful?
That is shocking. I imagine someday that someone will write a book about the management during this time, right? That'll be a good read.
Do you think there's some intern there who's like, what if we just offered a good product to our customers? And it was like, no. Let's just rebrand it and keep making it worse.
There might have been one who did that, and then they were just like, you never speak.
Never
How dare
speak
you?
Yeah.
Please train your replacement to never speak.
I mean, ever since AT&T announced the DirecTV acquisition, it's just been WTFs from us the whole way down because it doesn't matter what the product is. The whole thing's based on a lie.
Well, you know what this points out? It never ceases to amaze me, no matter how many times I see it, is how long these giant corporations can survive doing everything wrong.
The universe takes care of an idiot.
Yeah, it really does.
It works out.
It also says a lot when you've got captive members, because a lot of AT&T customers just literally don't have a choice.
Yeah, you talked about the bombing thing in Nashville, and that actually affected phone service here for a while, and a bunch of my family's on AT&T because that's all they can get.
Yeah.
And they were all very upset.
I actually heard various people talk about that, and the surprising thing about it, I guess it's not surprising. I've never dealt with a land phone line as an adult. I've never had one. I just thought, because I had a mobile phone my entire life. And except for in college, they paid for that. But a lot of people were like, wow, I picked up the phone and I couldn't get anybody. Nothing was working. I couldn't get long distance or something like that. And nobody was aware that they were an AT&T customer.
There's an elderly engineer that worked on building this amazing copper network in the 1960s and 1970s that's watching our program. There's one or two of you in the audience, and he's crying right now because they literally built that network to withstand nuclear holocaust. And some penny-pinching middle manager that doesn't understand the importance of their infrastructure has, converted everything to IP using cheap stuff, and it's all resold, and none of it works right anymore.
Yeah, none of that's running over the copper except for to the customer at this point.
Yeah.
So, obviously. Well, Amazon, boy, I tell you, I have gotten my money's worth out of Amazon Prime. How do I know that? Well, they've got this little dashboard, and they say, hey, look at the money you saved last year. Don't you feel good about yourself? And I'm sorry to admit that sometimes I kind of do. And the reason I feel bad about that is because that is what is known as a dark pattern. It's trying to convince me to maintain their service. I'm going to because I really like it, but it seems like some people don't, and they feel that that's not fair.
Amazon makes it too difficult to cancel your Prime service, groups tell FTC. So a bunch of consumer advocacy groups are saying, hey, Amazon is making it way too hard to cancel Prime.
I've never tried to do it, but I imagine I can think about like what goes through it. Basically, they're not trying to stop you. I mean, they are trying to stop you, but they're not doing it, overtly. They're just giving you other options. It's like, or you could do this, maybe give you a $10 gift card. I don't know. Maybe you don't cancel. And they're saying that that's not okay. When a user wants to cancel, you can't try and redirect them, which it's weird because, like, what about every website that wants me to agree to their cookies?
Yeah.
Because there's, Krista, is it Vanta Black? Like the blackest of blacks?
Yeah.
If Prime cancellation is a dark pattern, then those websites are Vanta Black patterns because they will make you click like 500 cookies to turn them off.
Spectrum.
I ran in. Oh, sorry. What?
Go ahead.
I was gonna say I ran into something like that recently. I bought my sister-in-law a teapot for Christmas off of this like random website that she wanted it from, and it was like jumping through 20 hoops just to get away from their email subscription. I was like, I don't want this. I just wanted to track my package. And now I want you to stop emailing me. And I had to like go through like 3 or 4 times to finally get them to cancel all emails.
Or the ones, I like it when it's like, hey, you want to check out as a guest? And I'm like, I want to check out as a guest so badly. I don't want to register with you. And then they email you 20 times. It's like, we've really already created the account. You sure you don't want it?
Yes, I'm sure.
I'm positive. I don't want that. And I also don't want your marketing emails.
Spectrum
I don't
is
want
another
your deals.
Spectrum's another company guilty of that, especially on the cable TV side. When I finally canceled my cable TV, I was returning everything, and it was like, wait, this thing, like, I'm paying almost $100 a month, and I've got all my equipment and stuff here, and this thing says for the same plan, it's only $20 a month. And they're like, oh, that's an introductory offer. And I'm like, well, I mean, if you switch me to that, I'll keep my service. And they're like, oh, we can't do that. I'm like, all right, I'm going to return everything. I returned everything. And then like 3 days later, I got a thing, and it was like, you want the service for $20 a month? And it was just like, really?
I've been maintaining a home warranty because my HVAC is so like almost dead, but I let it lapse.
Oh no!
And it was the first of the year, and by the time I signed back up for it, I'd saved $50 off the price, and I'd gotten a Home Depot gift card for $50.
Oh, nice!
And I got like the first deductible waived. So sometimes holding out, you can really, if they're a desperate service. Home warranty is probably usually a bad idea, and I'm sure some of you are commenting that, but like I say, my HVAC is like late stage cancer. It's going to die.
It worked out for me. I got a brand new HVAC, and I'm very happy with it.
I'm waiting for that day. Well, if you are a big, if you've switched over because of the pandemic to getting everything delivered to your door instead of ever leaving the house, which, Christy, you're kind of doing that, although you cheat by sending out your husband.
Well, no, we usually go to like a bulk store like once every month or so.
What?
And then we do one like big trip, and then we don't go out again.
You shop together? Is that necessary?
We do, because we usually have 2 carts because we're bulk shopping.
Oh, the worst.
Yeah.
Well, anyway, if you don't do that, if you're actually responsible and don't go to the stores with 2 people, then maybe you're using Amazon Pantry, but not anymore.
Amazon Pantry is being discontinued as Amazon consolidates its grocery delivery services. So I think we predicted this the day they bought Whole Foods. I was like, this is happening. And they put out that press release. I was like, don't worry, that's not happening. It totally happened.
I have noticed more and more like small snack items are merging back into the non-pantry.
Yeah.
It's still, the prices are still a little too high because they have to make up that shipping somehow.
I've noticed that when we've got the larger orders, that all of the stuff that ships from the local warehouse, like the amount of stuff that's coming from the local warehouse is staggering. And I wonder if, compared to what it was, and I wonder if part of the reason that they're getting rid of Prime Pantry and stuff is because they've like organized the warehouse such that all of the perishable stuff and all of the other stuff like that, like the grocery type stuff, is over on one side, and they've got enough data to know how much they need, because those orders, like no matter how we get it, those orders are almost always here the next day.
I've ordered some weird stuff, and it's taken a long time to get to me. And then I've ordered it again, maybe the next month, and I get it the next day.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, they knew.
Yeah.
They knew I was coming back.
Yeah, that's exactly everything that we get now for the office. Some things used to take 3 or 4 days to get here, and now everything is pretty much instant.
Yeah, well.
Maybe it's less people using it too, though. Like, no one else is like stocking up their offices, so it's like, oh, let's just shove all their stuff in a box and get it there quicker.
Yeah, maybe.
But the stuff I ordered wasn't food stuff. And on one hand, how terrifying is that? You know, it's like the Google thing. Google knows where you're going to go before you go there because they've been tracking your location. Now Amazon knows what you're going to consume before you consume it. On the other hand, getting it the next day is amazing. I love it.
Yeah. It's like Christmas for adults.
Do you remember how the grocery store used to be, like in the 1970s, where like, you know, Paul at the grocery store would learn. It's like, hey, you didn't come in for milk and eggs at your usual time this week, so I came to your house to check and make sure you were okay. You weren't okay, and I saved your life. Amazon's not coming to save your life.
How come you're not consuming, customer?
Now
Come back.
Now that story would be, I thought you weren't okay because you hadn't bought batteries in like 3 weeks, and you always buy a lot of batteries, and I came to your house and you were cooking meth and you shot me.
Car batteries contain hundreds of AA batteries. That's why.
Well, the like we talked about in the last episode, the big mesh networks in the sky, the wireless internet coming from the satellites. We all need it, especially Krista, because she is going to have to go even further out for her house search, as the ones in town are too expensive.
They are very expensive.
Good Lord.
And hopefully this is an excellent step toward a little bit of competition in that market.
Blue Origin successfully launches and lands a key crew capsule test in first mission of 2021. The article goes out of its way to point out that they added more padding, so it's crunchy human innards would survive. But you know, the video doesn't look real. Like it
doesn't.
It's crazy. And then they stuck the landing. They didn't get a bullseye, but they got it on the pad. It does look like, you know, kind of a bad movie from the 90s.
It does.
It looks like, did they just reverse the footage?
No, because it takes off a lot faster than it lands.
That's true.
Yeah. But that's cool. And this didn't even go to space. It only went 350,000 feet. But
that's a lot. That's like 10 times your average commercial flight.
Yeah. It confirmed what they wanted to confirm, and it didn't blow up. It's got to be a good day, right?
It's going to be a bad day for Elon Musk.
They are pretty far behind, though.
Yeah.
I mean, they're just testing, and he's launching.
He's launching 3 times a day.
We talked about we talked about dual screen and how things that, I guess before we went foldable, we were like, is dual screen the next thing? Dual screen mobile? Are we going to do that? And they released some products, but Microsoft announced, hey, we're going to do this special operating system. It's not going to be the same Windows you're used to. It's going to be special for dual screen. And then in a tiny line at the bottom, it was like, yeah, maybe we'll do one for single screen too. And now we have more information, and it turns out the dual screen might not have been the goal all along.
Windows 10X for single screen has leaked. There's a screenshot there. Look, they moved the start button to the middle. It's more like a Mac than
Krista,
ever.
how do you feel about this?
There's like hardly anything to comment on here. It's literally just like
No, they moved the start button, Krista.
But I mean, just okay. Like I guess some people probably freak out about that. I mean, I don't feel like this is a groundbreaking thing based on the single screenshot.
In fact, there are a lot more changes behind the scenes there that you cannot see, in the sense that they are trying to emulate Chrome OS, at least according to Thurrott.
Yeah.
So they're looking for low-cost laptops and tablets and that kind of thing, and they want this operating system to make that a reality.
When I first saw the little icon for the arranged windows, I was hoping that it meant that they were finally going to come up with some kind of a tiling window manager where you could, like, you know, have one window that is the entire left half of your screen, and then like 2 windows stacked on top of each other for the right half of your screen, and virtual desktops, so that you could like swipe left and swipe right and have more virtual desktops, because they've pretty much got the virtual desktop thing down in Windows 10 currently, but the tiling window stuff is just non-existent.
And okay, so forget, you know, Linux and their desktops having that feature. How about the phones? Everybody's doing it on a phone. I mean, it seems kind of obvious, right?
Yeah.
I could see, I don't know if they're doing any testing at Microsoft these days, like focus testing, but I could definitely see some older people being like, my desktop is gone. What am I going to do?
It's not a wash in icons.
It's like, no, but you have 6 desktops. And I'm like, what?
I was working, and now all my programs are gone. They're just gone. It says they're open, but they're gone.
So yeah, I don't know. The like that whole thing with did we talk about the vaccine rollout in New York City?
Mm-mm.
Oh man, I should have included that. It's a registration, a confirmation, a PIN, a 26-question questionnaire, and then a calendar scheduler.
Nice.
To get the vaccine.
So they're going to exterminate the elderly.
And here's the cherry on top of that. You know how they were worried about people like skipping line? There's a law that says if you go through that whole process and you schedule it, but you didn't understand, you don't show up on time, they throw the vaccine away. They can't put it back in the refrigerator.
Well, I don't think they can, because like if it's exposed to the air for any sort of amount of time, like it's not as effective.
But they could wait till you got there to take it out of the refrigerator.
Take it out of the fridge. They could do that.
The protocol is it has to be like ready, and then if you don't show up, they have to wait a certain amount of time, and then after that a certain amount of time, it's no good anymore.
Humanity's doomed.
The American healthcare system, everybody.
So
working as intended.
GM also had some announcements to make when it comes to technology. These are some really, really ambitious announcements, especially the flying car.
GM shares hit a record high as automaker reveals electric van and delves into flying cars. Now, remind me, who was it again that partnered with Rivian?
I don't even remember. Was it GM?
Was it GM?
That was a Nikola.
Yeah, Nikola. Oh yeah, Nikola. Yeah.
So you think they're trying to make up for the fraud? Krista, what do you think about these designs?
I'm trying to see them.
It's the first giant image.
That's not giant. That's like 500 by 600. I can't live in that van. What's the point?
You probably could.
It looks like somebody was playing a little bit too much Cyberpunk. It looks like the flying corpo transports.
They don't have enough polygons. The model's messed up.
The VTOL there doesn't look very aerodynamic. It's just kind of a wall. Anyway.
Yeah, these are something like they threw together. Like, we need an image for this presentation. It was like, well, shouldn't we know like more information about what we need to design? It's like, no, just put something out there and we'll put it in the press release.
I'm just not sure that it's credible that GM goes from, oh man, we got duped by Nikola to in a couple of months. I mean, is that credible? I don't think that's credible.
They say that the vans, I don't think they're going to look like that, but they are doing, and these are not for regular consumers. These are for businesses, and it's not going to be like a GM dealership selling these. They're going to have another company, I can't remember what they called it, that sells these vans, to commercial fleets. But that is supposed to happen pretty soon.
We'll see.
Oh.
You think they'll make a video of one driving uphill?
We'll get the new vehicles about the time they change their logo back.
Oh yeah, we have a story about that too.
This next story you could file under. Isn't it a little late for that? But I guess they're making a move in the right direction. I guess.
Are they though? Equifax acquires fraud prevention company Kount for $640 million. Equifax said it plans to use Kount's technology to bolster its footprint in digital identity and fraud prevention. So really what's happened here is Equifax paid some third-party companies a lot of money for identity protection because they screwed up so bad. And, it's like we could just buy one of those companies and then maybe it'll cost less the next time we screw up, which is probably going to be real soon now.
Or we can hide it much better next time we screw up. We can throw these guys under the bus.
Or it's just like, look, there's so much data that's leaked, like fraud is a real thing. We're going to have to use real-time AI to prevent fraud as opposed to like actual information security.
And that's what this is. So if you've ever made a big purchase with your credit card and then all of a sudden it was like, why was that rejected? And you get an email. It's like, was that you? I think there's fraud. And then it's like, okay. And then you have to call them. You have to call them every time. It's infuriating. That's the kind of thing they're looking to institute here. So we don't have to worry as much about credit card fraud because a machine is just watching everything. It's the robotic eye of Sauron when it comes to your purchases.
And so this will make the value of securing your data less for these companies because it just costs too much to protect your data from hackers. They're going to get it anyway. You don't need any privacy. Don't worry about it.
They're going to get it anyway. It's fine. Just accept that.
That's Equifax.
Can't take a company seriously when they just arbitrarily replace a C with a K. Who does that?
I think they do that so they can trademark it.
Ooh, yeah, probably.
Neither of you understood that was an attack on Krista.
No, I understood it, but I don't acknowledge it because K is the better letter for my name.
I'm having a hard time remembering what this one was. Oh, yeah. So we are all suffering, and I'm sure the vast majority of you in the audience know that you just can't buy hardware right now. I honestly, the 1080 Ti, still getting a little long in the tooth. But am I thinking about replacing it? No. That would be insane right now. You know what? It's okay until things get better, if they ever do. But it's not just CPUs and GPUs and phone chips and all of that stuff that get affected. Here's one that you might not think about, but you should.
Honda to trim production. They're going to shut down for a month because they can't get chips for their cars.
They're shutting down I don't know what SUV they make. Toyota makes here. Is that the Georgetown plant?
Oh yeah, maybe.
I don't know.
Shutting it down early. You know how they do the summer shutdown and like clean and lube everything? They're starting it right now because they can't get any of the entertainment system chips.
That's funny.
And a lot of other companies, other than they point out Honda here, but a lot of them are doing it.
Well, I mean, I think Chinese New Year this year is like what, February 12th or 15th or something, and you're not going to get anything out of China for a couple of weeks around then. So
that sucks if, 2020 hits you hard and you're already out of money. Maybe they get paid during those times. I don't know. Anybody in the audience work at the Georgetown Toyota plant? Anyway, Hyundai, not Honda, just similar sounding, has also made headlines because, if you'll recall, Apple just out of nowhere was like, we're doing a car. It's going to be self-driving. And people were like, what? You can't build a car from scratch. Who will you partner with? And they were very tight-lipped. And in fact, they're still tight-lipped. Apple ain't saying nothing. But maybe somebody let it slip over at the Hyundai side.
Oh, no. Hyundai Motor says it's in early talks with Apple to develop a car, and its shares went up 19%. So I imagine that means Apple, being the vindictive people that they are not going to use Hyundai Motor for their car.
The only... I think Apple refused to comment, and Hyundai was like, oh, we get contacted by a lot of tech companies. Could be that Apple... after they had already kind of said this.
Whoops.
That'd be interesting, though. I would expect Apple to go with a more luxury branded car company, wouldn't you?
Not necessarily. Apple could partner with somebody that they intend to become the luxury wing of their, if they have like total control. Because I can see the guys at BMW or Mercedes, just laughing at the Apple engineers like, no, that's not luxury. It'd be a lot of friction.
They don't want to, compete with another lineup in that same car industry or like that same brand.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, if it's self-driving, it's already going to be unique. We'll see, I guess. Google We've moved on to robot. Now, I've been messing around with AI Dungeon and kind of reading a little bit about GPT-3, and it's blowing my mind. I mean, it's so impressive.
I did apply for us to get early access to the GPT-3 API.
What is it, like $600 a year plus?
The first 100,000 tokens are free.
Oh.
Oh.
Imagine how fast you go through 100,000 tokens testing.
Yeah.
That'd be a month. Anyway, GPT-3 has 175 billion parameters. Think about that. Think how insane that is. But wait.
Google trained a trillion parameter AI language model. And by all accounts so far, it is mind-blowing. So we'll see. Now, I'm personally one of the people that thinks that Google, when they switched their translation stuff from a human-trained model to a purely neural network-trained model, I think the translation got worse. I think it was worse. But this trillion parameter model seems like it's going to be really good. And they actually went even beyond that. So like when they produced that model, obviously that's not going to work on your standard run-of-the-mill GPU. But they were able to take that model, which is apparently like some kind of a large sparse model, and turn it into a small dense model that actually could run on a modern GPU. So like the speech recognition, there was a really small speech recognition binary that Google released about 10 years ago that was shockingly good to be as small of a binary as it was. They've basically done that with this trillion parameter model. Now, you're not going to be running that trillion parameter model on your GPU, but you can use some of the derivative algorithms that it created on a desktop GPU. So we could see some really interesting stuff out of this.
I think you can run GPT-2 on a consumer video card, but only if it has a minimum of 10 gigs. So yeah, it's GPT-3 uses that super Nvidia card. I can't remember the name of it. Is it like Talus or something like that?
Tesla V100?
Oh yeah, Tesla.
We have some of those.
How could I have forgotten Tesla? Yeah, you can run it on that, except they won't give it to you.
Yeah.
Well, one use case of that powerful AI hardware is this, which obviously the powers that be were a little alarmed when we started this whole mask epidemic because all of a sudden they couldn't spy on us as well.
NEC says its new facial recognition system isn't stopped by masks. Oh no. Now we need masks that are different and weird to fool the algorithm.
Do we have to go like full ski mask?
No, you rock the crazy like eyeliner, like just black, like raccoon eyes.
Krista, we should make a video where you try to make up yourself to the point that the AI can't recognize you. I think you'd fail.
I think I would fail because I'm not a good makeup artist. But have you seen some of the people on YouTube who they do celebrity impersonations with their makeup and they completely change the way that their face looks?
So you're saying that you could defeat facial recognition, you just need an extra 3 hours before you leave the house.
Right.
Nice.
Makes perfect sense.
They do take hours to do that kind of makeup. It's incredible. I don't have the patience for it, but
we joke about, it's like, oh, the Spot robot was $75,000. Like, can we put together that kind of money? The answer is no. We can't. And we might be able to scrape it together, but we could not.
But why?
Like,
justify it?
The justification is just not there. I mean, it would be wildly irresponsible, especially with the patron money. I think they would rightly abandon us if we did that.
Be upset.
But if you could find a loophole to get one of these robots, would you take it?
Honolulu certainly did. Honolulu police spent $150K in CARES funds on a robot dog. So this was, they got the thing. Why did they do this? It was so that the robot would be able to take the temperature of homeless people in a homeless camp safely during the pandemic.
And if you're thinking, wait a minute, you said 75,000, that's 150. Well, this is like almost fully loaded Spot, which really jacks up the price.
I just feel like we could have invested this in 1,000 better ways.
Could we have given all of the homeless people like $10,000? How many homeless people are there?
Yeah, just paid some rent for a while, or bought better freezers and improved vaccine protocols. It seems like there's a lot of other things that could have came between this and one robot.
There's a lot of vacant hotels. It seems like a deal could have been struck to house the homeless people in a hotel for the duration of the the thing, which would also isolate them.
Are they not doing that in, I think, New York?
Yeah.
Like luxury hotels?
Yeah, just whoever would make a deal with the city. I mean, they're not paying full rates, but yeah.
I mean, the spot, I got to think that how much is one of those just robotic arms with a camera on it?
Oh, like 15, 20 grand.
Yeah. That would totally be fine, right?
Yeah, just, oh, you mean like wheel around a plexiglass thing where you just...
Don't even wheel it. Just, you know, put it in the tent and you're somewhere else remotely. I mean, it's temperature.
Yeah.
All you got to do is pop that little plastic sleeve off, put another one on there. All right?
Yeah.
Too much effort.
Now this one...
Need 150K.
They didn't have enough details in this story because this seems too good to be true, don't you think?
It does,
especially for the price tag. I mean, think about what we just said.
Yeah.
$150,000 for that little spot robot. And what can it do? It can dance and walk around. I mean, it's impressive, but it's not super functional. Whereas this is advertised to be
incredible.
Just the most amazing thing you've ever seen.
Motley's futuristic robot kitchen assistant can cook up to 5,000 recipes from scratch. You might be wondering how much this costs. About £55,000 for the top-end model.
Now, there's a video here, and you can watch it do stuff, and it's pretty cool. You should watch the video. But there's also like a smart kitchen portion to this, which I think is sold separately.
Yeah, because no way you'd be able to calibrate it to like your crappy apartment kitchen, right? You'd need all their fancy stuff, so it'd know where to like path to.
Maybe, yeah, I don't know. But still, it seems ridiculously cheap for what it can do. If it really can cook. They also claim, now this is the real outrageous claim, they claim it'll clean up after itself.
Nice.
That would be nice.
I mean, that almost seems like a deal.
Yeah. Krista, how much more would you pay for a house that came with one of those?
Not the amount that they would ask for this, but
you're crazy.
Well,
my husband really enjoys cooking, though. I don't think he would use this much.
I was reading something the other day that like the floor model, like in 1954, 1955, the price of a nice floor model television in today's dollars, like the today's dollars equivalent, would have been about $20,000.
That makes sense, but I mean, it was so early. And people were so captivated by it. I mean, look how it changed our world.
Yeah. Well, a robot chef making proper meals and whatever, you might be able to end the obesity epidemic in America immediately because you're always got a robot to make you a nice meal.
In the video, though, when I'm looking at it, so every time he pulls out like spices or a sauce or something, it's always in like some sort of unique container. So I think you do absolutely have to pay for like things that it's compatible with. Because like if you just handed it a jar of ragu, I don't think it would understand what it was holding.
Jeff Bezos will totally take care of that.
Oh yeah, yeah. Or they'll make you'll print something and put it on your ragu.
Yeah.
And then it'll be like, oh, I recognize that. But you know what you were saying earlier is just like, would people pay for a service if it wasn't something that really changed their lives? And my favorite example of that are all these new services. I mean, they're not super new, but they're fairly new, where they will mail you perfect calorie balanced meals, and it's like $40-50 a month.
Yeah.
So you can either pay $40 or $50 a month or eat less on your own. And those are very successful companies.
Yeah.
So your argument.
Yeah.
And finally, this is a story, a tale as old as AI, at least, because it turns out when you create an AI and you give it one of these amazing models, like we were just talking about, and let it go out and learn from the world,
it learns bad things.
It learns from the world. It's almost like the real people who are communicating aren't following the narrative. And somehow that's not allowed for the AI.
South Korean AI chatbot pulled from Facebook after hate speech towards minorities. Lee Luda, I guess was the name, is built to emulate a 20-year-old Korean university student that engaged in homophobic slurs on social media.
Ouch.
This is just Tay all over again. They keep doing it over and over. They're like, this time it'll be different. Our AI won't say those horrible things.
Maybe that's the galactic test. Like it's like before we admit you into the Galactic Federation, on balance, you have to be not terrible people to each other. And they run this AI. It's like, oh, nope, you failed the 2020 test. I'm sorry.
You think it's an annual review?
Yeah. Yeah.
What do you think about her little avatar here, Krista? I mean, she's cute.
Yeah, that's a cute drawing.
Do you think that this avatar, has she had plastic surgery?
No.
I mean, look at that little button nose.
No, but her ears are really big.
Oh. She
And
should change her
obviously-
hairstyle.
And obviously you would change that if you were having...
If your
plastic
ears
surgery.
are really big, do the big earrings help hide that, or they draw attention to it?
I don't know. I think they would draw attention to it, but maybe you like your big ears. She seems like she has a lot of spunk, this AI.
Yeah, well, you know what she doesn't have a lot of, Krista? Tolerance.
That's true.
CPU cycles too, because she was shut down.
Rip.
I got to say, playing around with that AI dungeon, clearly it is so quick to go to anything sexual and anything violent because that's what people are doing with it.
Yeah.
I was surprised at how well it did putting different situations together. Like it kind of understood what was happening.
But it loses. So I learned, you know,
It
how
loses
it loses
the thread sometimes.
The reason it loses the thread, and I think you can actually change this in the settings, is it's how long it takes to respond depends on how many lines back you make it remember. And by default, I think it's 1,000 or 10,000.
Oh.
So it could, but you can, like when you meet a new character, you're supposed to explicitly be like, okay, let's talk about this. Let me tell you about this new character. You've introduced it, but I want you to keep this one in mind, and then it'll like do better. So eventually they'll build a system where it like there's a second AI that's world building based on the first AI.
Oh yeah, that would be nice, because that did seem like its weakness was it was remembering like what items we had on our person and who the characters were that were present at a particular, who had died and who had lived.
If you are a young, or doesn't matter if you're young or not, an AI developer, that's a good project. Is like take those kinds of prompts. Although, like, how much was the API? It was like $600 a year for the entry level, right?
It's totally based on usage, so
Okay.
it can be upwards of like $600 a month, but then you get millions and millions of tokens.
So it's expensive, but if you could make an AI that's using that same model and then make helper AIs that read from that model and keep track of what's going on in the world and feed it back to it, that would be huge. What have we not done yet? Security. Friday will be security and nonsense.
So much nonsense.
It's a good breakdown. There's been a lot of nonsense this last week, and I'm sure that this week will be just as bad.
Hopefully, nothing terrible has already happened this week that we haven't talked about yet. We'll definitely talk about it next week. Don't worry.
We're coming to you from the past right now. It's the 15th. Life is calmed down. Hopefully remains calm. I guess we'll see.
Krista, give us a unnecessary robot purchase goodbye.
Bye. Cha-ching.